2010. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask for an acceptance of the agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Have a motion by Mr. Stamey, second by Mr. Holder. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. The first item on the agenda is a resolution requesting authorization to accept a grant from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. Our presenter is Mr. Chuck Spahas, Solicitor General, and it's Exhibit Number 2. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning. Thank you, ma'am. I'll be brief. This is some stimulus money that came down, run through the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. The CJCC came to the Prosecuting Attorney's Council while I was still there and said that they had monies earmarked for the particular circuits. And of course, I remind you, in our county, the Flint Judicial Circuit is only Henry County, but we retained the Flint Circuit name. There was $337,098 earmarked for the Flint Circuit. We got all the players together that were involved, including the judges, myself, the district attorney, and discussed the best way to use this money. There were a couple of directives we were given. Specifically, it had to create jobs. Specifically, it had to bring together parties that were not, or organizations that weren't currently working together, or to enhance collaboratives. So that's what we did. It's got two parts to it. The first part of it, the main part of it, is for $216,813, and what it does is it creates 2 additional positions on the current Flint Circuit Drug Task Force. Now, that's a task force that's been in existence for about 6+ years that is made up of a board that consists of the police chiefs of the city of Hampton, McDonough, and Locust Grove, and also myself and the district attorney. And it concentrates on narcotics investigations within the corporate limits of those cities. What we're going to do with this money is, and first of all, this is a zero-match grant, so it pays for everything. What we're going to do here is we're going to bring the sheriff on board. He will become a member of that board. He will assign 2 persons to that board, or to that unit, that will work for that unit just like the other 6 work for it now. This grant pays for the automobiles, the vests, the guns, every piece of equipment those 2 positions need, and it pays the salary of one of those positions for a little better than 2.5 years. So that would allow us to supplement what's currently going on. It allows us to have somebody with direct contact with the intelligence that comes from the jail and from the schools. Those are 2 vital sources of intelligence and narcotics investigative stuff. The second part of it is $120,285, and what it does is it allows us to employ, we're going to do it via contract with the Henry County Counseling Center, but a counselor to concentrate full-time on our indigent drug treatment program that the court started, you authorized about a year ago, where we started to use the date funds to create alternatives to incarceration. This would give us a full-time person to concentrate on that for about 2.5 years as well. So that is what we're here for. Again, it's zero match. The county doesn't have any obligation to continue this at the end of the grant. And of course, 3 years from now, who knows where we'll be. But that's kind of where we're at. I would field any questions about it.
Are there any questions from board members?
Question. I think it's a good plan. No question about it. Now, this does not affect the current program that Henry County has, the Henry County PD. Is that correct?
No, sir. This will concentrate efforts inside the city limits of those 3 cities that we've discussed. And
hopefully the communication between the 2 agencies will improve and move on, but it still does not tie the 2 together.
No, it doesn't. We've all had discussions about, and we've all got opinions about whether or not all forces ought to be working together. I will say this, since the new county manager's come on board, we've had some meetings to discuss that with Deputy Chief Nichols and himself and I feel like we're definitely making forward progress with that, and I'm confident that with new leadership we're going to make forward progress.
Are there any additional questions or comments? All right, if not, what we're seeking is approval to accept grant funding, 2 amounts, one in the amount of $216,813, the other grant in the amount of $120,285. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion to approve by Mr. Jeffries, second by Mr. Holder. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on under public safety, The first item is a resolution requesting acceptance of a grant from the Georgia Association of EMS for EMS computers. Our presenter is Chief Brad Johnson of the Fire Department, Exhibit Number 3. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. In August 2009, the Georgia Department of Community Health awarded Georgia Association of EMS the Enhancement to Patient Care Grant for the amount of $1,280,004. This grant was designated to purchase laptop computers for EMS units in the state of Georgia to relay information to the Georgia Emergency Medical Service Information System. Henry County has been awarded 8 of these laptops at a price of $1,445.42 each. I ask the Commission to approve or accept the grant for a total of $11,563.36 for these 8 laptop computers.
I do have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
On that. I know that covers the cost of the base unit. Are you going to make do with the base unit, or is the plan to upgrade those?
We will have to upgrade one thing. These units do not allow for on-screen writing, so we work with Clark to see whether we need on-screen writing or attachment. So if we do have patient insurance information, because everything's paperless, insurance information, patient refusals and stuff, they have to sign the computer to be electronic signature. So that would be a cost estimated right now between $100 and $105
each
per unit. Yes, ma'am.
And would you have that money available in your budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any additional questions or comments? If not, you have a resolution before you authorizing the acceptance of this grant for the EMS computers, and I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Stamey. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeffries. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is a resolution requesting authorization to expend funds from the seized asset and forfeiture account. Our presenter is Major Danny Butler, and that's going to be handout number 1. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. This is a resolution requesting the authorization to use certain funds from the asset forfeiture account. We have a narcotics agent, as most of you know, assigned to the DEA in Atlanta. And as part of the equitable sharing agreement of assets seized during drug arrest, the federal government has awarded Henry County a Hummer-type vehicle, 2004, estimated value between $40,000 and $50,000. And there's $4,680 worth of federal cost incurred as part of the forfeiture process by them. And at this time, we're asking that we be allowed to take $4,680 out of our asset seized forfeiture fund and use that to pay for the vehicle, and then the vehicle belonging to Henry County.
And what will the vehicle be used for?
Probably, since it hadn't been determined yet, but there's been a lot of talk about just using it to trade in, because we could probably get 2 narcotics vehicles for what the value of this vehicle is.
Are there any questions or comments pertaining to this item? All right. If not, you have a resolution before you authorizing the use of the funds from the seized asset and forfeiture account, and I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve, Madam Chair.
Have a motion by Mr. Holder. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Jeffries. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item under Finance, a resolution requesting approval of a budget amendment. Our presenter is Mike Bush, Finance Director, and Angie Sorrow, Budget Director, Exhibit Number 4. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. Each year, we come to you sometime around the middle of the year to do the mid-year budget amendment. This is just to adjust the accounts that are that were budgeted. Some are beneath the budget, some are above the budget. We're just shoring everything up for a mid-year budget amendment. Angie's got a one-page summary of everything that we did, and we'll start at the top and kind of go through this with you briefly. Originally, our budget for the year was $125,944,935 worth of expenses. We had $118,402,252 worth of revenues to offset those expenditures, and we used a total of $7,542,683 worth of fund balance to balance that budget. So when we started the year, we were into fund balance to start the year to balance the budget. We have several pages of adjustments that were made, but we'll go from this main sheet and kind of talk about those. The first one we'll talk about is our revenues. We were able to go back into the budget, look at the budget at mid-year, and determine that we had $237,500 worth of revenues that we could use to reduce the usage of fund balance in this budget. So we were able to reduce fund balance from $7.5 million to $7.3 million with those extra revenues that came in that were brought in. I think the county manager brought those in where the public defender had come and found some ways to save some money for Henry County, and that was what basically came in there and did that. The second group there you see is grant revenues. It was for $1,011,742. I know, Chairman Mattis, when you did your county address for the county, you had mentioned all the money that we had received from grants and stimulus monies and things like that. Well, since we set this budget last May, we've had a little over $1 million worth of grants that we did not have at the beginning of the budget that we've been awarded in this first 6 months of this budget. So what this is putting $1,011,742 worth of revenue in the budget and offsetting that with $1,011,742 worth of expenditure. So in other words, we were able to buy some transit buses, and many other equipments. You know, you have 2 or 3 things here this morning that have already come through. The $11,000 on the computers, the things that Mr. Spahos brought to you, all those will be adjusted at the end of the year in this same line item. So that's just where revenues come in, expenditures go out. Another one that was one of the larger ones was the DUI court that Judge Blunt brought to us earlier in the year. We were awarded a grant from the state, and that has now been put in the budget with this mid-year budget amendment. Those were the 2 adjustments that had something to do with the overall budget. So our overall budget went from $125,944,935 in expenditures to $126,956,677 in expenses, and our revenues went up from $118,402,252 to $119,651,494, and fund balance went down from 7.5 million to 7.3 million. So that's pretty good, where you have revenues come in that were offset by expenditures, and you actually were able to reduce our fund balance at the mid-year point, and we hope to come back at the end of the year and reduce that even more. So, you know, that pretty much tells you that our budgeting cycle was pretty much dead on. There's not a whole lot of in and outs, you know, adding expenditures and decreasing expenditures. Then we go down to other adjustments. These adjustments are where you would take money from one account to a different account because of shortfalls in some or overages in others. The first one we've got listed is pooled accounts. This is where we pooled small equipment education and training. Anytime anybody wants to buy small equipment, there's a form they fill out. It goes to the county manager's office, and the county manager approves or disallows the purchase of those small equipments. Same thing with education and training. There's a form that's filled out for somebody that needs education and training. They fill it out, and it goes to the county manager's office. In both of these instances, we spent, in the small equipment, we spent $232,195 in different people's accounts. And I'll give you an example. The tax commissioner, he bought $5,457 worth of small equipment in the first half of the year. And what we're doing is taking that $5,457 out of that pooled account, placing it in the tax commissioner's account, so the expenditure in the budget balance, and there's 0 variances. And we did that for several different accounts totaling $232,195, all approved by the county manager's office. Same thing with education and training. There were people that turned in, you know, requests to go to education and training that totaled $67,399, and all that went through the county manager's office for this year and has been approved, and we are just moving the $67,399 into the various accounts to have a 0 variance in the budget. That's what the pooled accounts equated to. And then the last section is the largest one. It's where you go and you actually correct every account that you have in your budget, and there are probably 1,000 accounts total in the budget, and any of them that are off, that aren't, you know, variances, we fix them. And that totaled $1,981,000 worth of increases and decreases. Just to give you an example on some of those, a lot of that had to do with your your salaries, people who were, say a position was vacant for 2 months, the savings of that vacancy was absorbed into this budget amendment to change it to offset some other expenses. There were some large increases. One was insurance other than employee benefits, the workers' comp section of our budget. Last year we adjusted our contract at September, which made it a 3-quarter year budget. And when we set our budget this year, that department failed to adjust for a full year. They just had put in a 9-month budget, and we had to come in here and adjust for a full 12-month budget. The medical supplies, we get medical supplies from the Henry County Medical Center, and they came up this year and decided that we had to pay for those supplies, and they agreed to a contract where we pay just cost of what they cost, and that was an adjustment of $175,000 that I think Chief Jenkins brought to you earlier this year, where we had some offsetting revenues from ambulance billing fees to offset that piece. Another one, a $27,000 piece, was jail overtime expenditures. The sheriff is doing everything he can to not hire any additional people in the constraints of our budget, but at the same time he's got to have his people working, and he has approved some overtime to be spent to try to keep some of those pods closed down until absolutely necessary. So that saved us quite a bit of money in employee benefits that we don't have to pay above and beyond on those accounts. The other one, another one is the public defender's professional account. We increased it by $31,250. That was he basically for the last 5 months of this year he's going to generate revenues of $237,500. The offset of that cost is $31,250. So that's a big win for the county, and that's what makes up the general fund. Those type things are what makes up the general fund budget amendments at this mid-year point. I'll take any questions on the general fund before we move forward to the other funds at this time, if y'all have any.
Are there any questions?
Okay. We've got 4 other funds that we made adjustments to at mid-year. Fund 250, which is our grant fund. Some of these new grants that we received have gotten stricter requirements on them, and they are actually, you can put this up there, maybe they can see it. They require you to record these expenditures and revenues in a separate fund. And this year we have 3 grants that we have received at the police department. One's for $95,993, one for $65,136, and one for $23,399. And what we do to set this budget up is these are our revenues. We offset that with matching expenditures so that every dollar of revenue is matched by a dollar of expenditure. And it's a $184,000 budget that was created after our budget was adopted last June. So that's what that fund is. It's just additional revenues that have to have offsetting expenditures, and that's what that was. Fund 206, this is our NSP program, our Neighborhood Stabilization Program. When the grant was awarded, we had already worked on our budget, and I think we had put in a few $1,000s for administrative expenses at the beginning of the year, and since then our program has just taken off and has done a really good service, I think, for the county. And so what we had to do is come back in here and actually create, again, the grant required a separate fund to be created, and this is our NSP Grant Fund. And you can see, do you have that one? Just do the first page, is fine. The revenues on this program, you see the grant revenue, $6,451,567. The NSP program income is when Henry County actually buys a house, rehabs it, and sells it to the public, to somebody in the public, and that's what this $943,589 and the $104,844. Those two are the selling of houses. 10% of that is kept for administrative fees. That's why we broke out the 104 from the 943. Those 3 numbers total $7.5 million, and we have expenditures that balance that $7.5 million. At year end, we'll come back and let's say that we spend $6,200,000. At year end, we'll come in and adjust this budget to the actual $6,200,000. So this is just setting up a budget, debit revenues equal expenditures, and we will adjust it again at year end. And these are special revenue type funds which require a budget every year. That's why we're bringing it to you at mid-year instead of just year end. The next one is the Stormwater Fund. This is Henry County's only enterprise fund. We had a reimbursement of $22,500 for some professional fee. A donation for $22,500 was given for some professional fees that were done, and we've just done a budget amendment for that, increasing the revenue by $22,500 and the expenditures for $22,500. The final budget amendment that we have here today is our SPLOST 3 budget. Originally in 2008, when we started our SPLOST 3 program, our budget was $240 million. Last year we issued bonds, and when we issued bonds, we had reduced that $240 million estimate to $180 million, and that's what this budget amendment does. It changes that 240 to 180. The actual budget is going to $184,193,000. That's because we got $1 million contribution from the City of McDonough on the purchase of parkland on Jonesboro Road, and we also have a $3,193,000 GDOT contract on McDonough Parkway at 42, I believe is where that is. And that's what changes the $240 million budget to the $184 million budget. And revenues and expenditures, again, match as they have to during a budget cycle. So I'll take any questions on any of those.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
About the $180 million. I know you added in the DOT reimbursements. The stimulus money on Eagles Landing Parkway, where in the budget will those funds be reflected?
They will be reflected here at year end. We have received, I want to think, a little over $6 million of that back already, but we had not received any of it as of mid-year point, as of December 31st, so we just will go and adjust that at the end of the year for whatever amount of money it totals in this budget.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, if not, you have before you a resolution approving this mid-year budget amendment. I'll entertain a motion. Have a motion to approve by Mr. Bowman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Basler. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Public Works, we have a resolution requesting approval to grant a right of entry onto a section of Holloway Road to GDOT. Our presenter is Mr. Terry McMickle, Public Works Division Director, Exhibit Number 5. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, board members. We have a request this morning from a right of entry from GDOT to allow them to begin construction on a park and ride lot, that involves us giving them a right of entry on Holloway Road. The right of entry is just a temporary measure that will allow them to go ahead and meet their construction schedule. They will be coming, Georgia DOT will be coming back to us with deeds and legal descriptions for us to permanently transfer ownership of that over to, I guess, Greta, to the park and ride lot. Probably go to Georgia DOT instead of Greta, I would suppose. But right now, this right of entry certainly gives them the right to come in there and do the work. LaTanya made some changes on their right of entry as well, so she reviewed it and had 3 additional conditions that she placed on there. So it still allows us to negotiate if we choose to do that. Gives them 12 months to go ahead and get the rest of their paperwork to us, and then it releases us from any liability. Be happy to answer any questions on that.
Mr. Bowman?
Terry, I've had just a few calls. That's actually in my district. So are there any renderings or drawings or anything to date on that you know of?
On what section of Holloway Road?
No, on the park and ride lot, what DOT is going to be going. Well, let me rephrase that. Do you believe, are they going to have any type of informational meeting like they do on some of the other things they do?
They've had one already, but I think we have a set. If not, I can get a set of those plans. If somebody's interested in looking at those, we certainly can make those available to them.
I think if we could just get a rendering, something that just shows it in place, as opposed to, a lot of them are going to look at a set of plans and not know a lot about what they're looking at. But I was just curious if any of that was in place. I knew that we'd had a town hall or informational meeting along the lines of the bridge. I went to that one, but I don't remember having one specifically on the park and ride. Maybe I missed that one, but
I go to so many. I think they've had one. I know I've been to a meeting now. I can't remember if it was a public meeting or just with the GDOT folks. But I've been to one, but I can't remember now if it was a public meeting or not. But we'll certainly get that, and if anybody has an interest in that, we'll keep it our DOT and make that available.
Yeah, one other thing do you have any idea at this time, the timeline or time frame for this from start to completion, when it may start and how long it's going to take to do it? Do you have any information on that at this time?
I can make a pretty informed guess, I guess. By them putting a push on this right away, I think they were wanting to get it certified by March. I believe GDOT requires at least 60 days after certification before they can put it out to bid. So I would say that they'd probably go out to bid on that sometime this summer.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair. How much property are we talking about conveying to GDOT, Terry?
I think it was let me look, I think it was either a quarter or a third of an acre. It was a small amount.
I missed it. The print must have been too small or something.
It's .310 acres.
Okay, 0.3 of an acre.
0.3, yes, sir.
In the past, and I'm just asking this as far as a question is concerned, have the roles ever been reversed to where we impacted GDOT's right-of-way and what it cost us to impact their right-of-way?
When we do county projects that intersect with the state route, there's occasions when we impact their right-of-way. Normally they work with us very well.
That's the only question I have, Madam Chair.
You sure? Any other questions or comments?
Terry, I do, Madam Chair.
Mr. Basler?
Terry, just for reference, this is the northeast corner where there is some sort of parking lot there now.
Yes, sir. This is in the northeast corner. It'll be between the interstate and Patrick Henry. Of course, the Jodica Road's moving to the north a little bit in the realignment when they do that interchange project. So this will sit in that northeast corner, and actually access will be off of Patrick Henry to this park and ride lot.
Isn't there, right now, there's some kind of parking lot there now, isn't there? Right on the corner right there that...
A little small.
A little small, okay, that's just for clarification.
Any other questions or comments? If not, there's a resolution before you approving the right of entry request by GDOT. And Mr. Bowman, I believe this is in your district. I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve, Madam Chair.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Basler. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chairman Board.
Mr. County Manager, any comments for public session?
No, ma'am.
Ms. County Attorney?
No, ma'am.
Anyone sign up for public comment? The upcoming meetings and events, tomorrow, February 16th at 6:30 p.m. is a regular board meeting. Also, Monday, March 1st at 9 a.m., we have a workshop meeting, and Tuesday, March 2nd at 9 a.m., a regular board meeting. At this time, I need a motion to convene into executive session for the purposes of potential or pending litigation, personnel matters, and land acquisition.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Stamey. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bowman. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Ready? I need a motion to reconvene into public session. We have a motion by Mr. Basler, second by Mr. Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. I need a motion to approve an affidavit and resolution pertaining to executive session. Motion by Mr. Jeffries. Second by Mr. Stamey. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. This time, I believe we need to amend the agenda out of necessity. Mr. Stamey?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to amend the agenda to authorize the authorization to acquisition of 0.155 acres of permanent easement, more or less, in land lot 153 of the 7th District, Henry County, Georgia, by negotiated contract or through condemnation.
Have a motion by Mr. Stamey. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bowman. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0.
One more, resolution to authorize the acquisition of 0.029 acres of permanent easement, more or less, and 0.87 acres of driveway easement, more or less, in land lot 153 of the 7th District, Henry County, by negotiated contract or through condemnation.
Have a motion by Mr. Stamey. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Jeffries. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. If there's no further business to come before this board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Stamey. Second by Mr. Jeffries. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. We stand adjourned.